इस इशू के ऊपर अब सारी कौम ने कश्मीर के लोगों के साथ खड़ा होना है। मैं कश्मीर का अब एम्बेसडर बनूंगा।
Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about a couple of very important developments regarding the Pakistan-India situation. You all know that this is the 24th day since the curfew has been imposed in the Indian-occupied Kashmir. Thousands of protesters, especially the youth and the second and the third tier of the leadership, they've been picked up, they've been sent to various jails all over India. As we all know what is happening with women out there, with children, absolute scarcity of water, food items, medicine and other necessary services. Schools are closed, universities are closed, hospitals are full with patients. Only in one hospital, as I was telling you the other day also, more than 150 pellet gun victims were treated. So you can well imagine what exactly is going on out there. Whenever you get a hold of any sort of video coming from that part, honestly speaking, we can't even show you that on the television screens. Life is miserable. It's a living hell where the Indian troops now are carrying out certain, according to them, the intelligence-based operations in which they are picking up people. Wherever there is a protest of even a smaller number of people, they'll go, they'll pick up those people, and God knows what is their future now. But still, the resistance movement is on. It's gaining momentum almost on every single passing day. The situation out there is, again, as I said, very fluid. The whole world is looking at it. Look at the media of the West. They are also focusing on Kashmir, talking about the humanitarian crisis out there as well. Forget about the issue between the two countries. And it has been termed as a bilateral problem by almost everyone, even Narendra Modi, when he met Donald Trump in France a few days ago. He also showed that we should talk. But now, what sort of foreign policy options do we have? What sort of other options are also available with Pakistan? Are we heading towards something which we call a war, maybe a limited war, a limited conventional war, or where can it lead? Nobody knows. It could end up in an absolute nuclear exchange in which not only Pakistan and India or the people of these two countries will suffer, but the entire globe is going to suffer. Now, this is what the current condition is. Kashmir indeed has become a nuclear flashpoint. Now, this is something which we've been saying for a very long time, but now things are different. We'll be talking about this in detail. Let me introduce you to our panelists we have with us in our studio. On my right is Ambassador Arslan Saab, senior diplomat. Sir, thank you very much for your participation. We have with us Salman Bhatani Saab. He's a foreign affairs expert. Sir, thank you very much. And shortly we'll be joined in by Tariq Pirzada Saab, who's also a senior analyst and a political commentator. But Rizvi Saab, let's start off from you, sir. As far as foreign policy options are concerned, sir, we have been, or when I say we, means Pakistani Prime Minister himself is engaged in that sort of a dialogue process with almost all the stakeholders, I would say, sir, whether you talk about the Arab countries or China or Turkey for that matter, or other related countries. We've been getting a lot of support from them, sir, but still there is not the expected support from certain other countries, which you know what I'm talking about. Let's take the name, UAE for that matter, Saudi Arabia for that matter. Now, sir, the foreign policy options, we always used to hear from people like you, from senior ambassadors, that at the end of the day, it's the interest of any country which matters. And we have witnessed this, sir. People say, well, India is a huge country, but look at the size of their market. And indeed, sir, they're right. So that is one of the reasons the England will never oppose. Or France, they have this deal going on, they will never oppose. Or there are other economic interests, they will not oppose. Yes, sir, that has proven to be right. Considering the current setup, sir, the current foreign affairs problems and the issues, what sort of solutions do we have at the foreign front, sir?
The options that are available to any government in such situation, first and foremost, the United Nations. Pakistan has used that. We have been to United Nations Security Council, where we had the support of 15 nations who participated in that Security Council. Although there was no statement, but the mere fact that there was the holding of the meeting after over 50 years is itself an important event, because it nailed the lie by the Modi government to say that it is a bilateral matter. It is very much an international matter. Secondly, the UN itself has, through its High Commissioner for Human Rights, has made out 2 reports, and the Secretary General has also called on India to allow a visit of Special Envoy to the Indian occupied Kashmir, now the Union Kashmir, to report from there. Now, the other, of course, option is for the country to pursue diplomacy, both bilateral and international forum. International, I have just mentioned. And on the bilateral, well, international also, OIC is another forum. But on OIC, let me just say that the members of the OIC, although the special committee of the OIC on Kashmir has been supporting Pakistan's position, but most of the members were giving lip service. Let us not forget that when the summit took place in Casablanca many years ago of the OIC, there was a move by some countries to make India part of the OIC. And it was very strong reaction by Pakistan which stopped them. Secondly, we have also seen that even recent past, that when the Indian foreign minister was allowed to come in the UAE and when the OIC meeting was taking place and to address it, when we were having problems also with India. And part of the reason is that most of the countries in the Arab and the world in particular are the non-representative of the people. These countries are unelected, they are rulers by nature, and their policies are dictated more by economic interest rather than the Islamic or the Muslim solidarity or Ummah. And of course, the populace in these countries, their views are totally different. However, these countries do not permit any kind of demonstrations or political demonstrations. I mean, I know for a fact that over the years, when you want to have a rally on Kashmir Day in many of the Gulf countries, they do not allow you. They don't allow you to do that. And we have been holding these Kashmir Days in the embassy premises, which they can't stop. So the point here is that to have any support from the Islamic Ummah, we should not count on that. However, we have seen the Prime Minister has been very forthright ever since the episode was taking place. Mm-hmm. He is going out in a very big way to project the situation there and to highlight it to all the leaders that matter. We have had support from, of course, two Muslim leaders, Malaysia and Turkey. We've also had China supporting as well, but more in the context of Ladakh. But the fact is that he has succeeded in doing that, and he has had telephone conversations, he has galvanized the...
This was the general SOP, sir, which he has adopted basically.
Exactly.
How fruitful that would be, only time will tell. Yeah. Moving on to Bitani Sahib, a couple of important points. Israel is a country, sir, which is accepted by a lot of Muslim countries.
Yeah.
We can go anywhere in the world other than Israel because that was stamped. Earlier it was South Africa and Israel, now it's only Israel. Now my point is, sir, when these Arab countries, for example, Egypt, Jordan,
Turkey,
so many other countries, when they, obviously when you have a political engagement or you have a diplomatic engagement, that means that you, whether you accept it or you do not, but still you need to. It's a reality at the end of the day. It's just like accepting there is a disease. If I accept it, I'll treat it.
Yeah.
If I don't accept that I'm sick, then that is going to be a lot worse for me. And I have heard Khurshid Kasuri Saab and so many other foreign ministers and senior foreign officials that Pakistani authorities have met them at the sidelines, and that has been happening. A lot of people believe that if Pakistan, forget about the morality for the time being, forget about
Obviously.
the other observations you have, let's talk about the world 2019. We have seen what the world is actually looking at, how they'll behave, how they have already behaved. So a lot for us, and especially the Foreign Office and the government, or the governments, or the establishment, they have to learn from this. What should be the way forward now? So don't you think, sir, it's time to make enemies your friends? Because this is what your foreign policy teaches you. The lesser enemies, more friends, that's what exactly good foreign policy is about, sir.
Well, as far as the philosophy of international relations is concerned, I think there is no harm in establishing relationship with any state, number one. Now, if we talk about Israel, Israel had a special status, and we had created a mindset in our public opinion which is very anti.
That's just because of the Arab world.
Yeah, because
we
of the Arab world.
don't have a direct conflict with them.
So, and lately, if we see that we have paid a cost of not establishing a relationship with Israel, because we had created a vacuum in South Asia. Only India was
has capitalized on that, sir.
Relation with them. So, as far as the international politics is concerned, there is no harm. At the moment, I think it's linking it to this particular moment. I think that's a separate story. We can do that in a proper time. A lot of people are
writing about it. There is a lot of argument going on social media and otherwise.
Yeah.
That is one of the reasons I have asked you this question.
Definitely. I'm saying that putting it in the context of today's environment related to the tensions in South Asia vis-a-vis Kashmir and all, this is not the right moment. But a right thought process should be put into the fact that we need to establish relationship with important countries. Turkey has relations, and at the same time we can keep up with our own ideological standpoint. And if we have relations with Israel, we can even talk to them about what our apprehensions are. But generally, there has been a scenario, there has been an equation that Israel and India in collusion are all the time against Pakistan. In past, there were instances. For example, brass tracks 1988 were planned. Israel was very much part of and parcel of that. But over the period of time, Israel has also got matured. And I would give you two examples. Some of the journalists have been trying to provoke Israeli Prime Minister, Israeli President, even Netanyahu, to talk against Pakistan, but he was like, we have nothing against Pakistan.
I have seen those visuals, sir.
And on the recent visit to India, the Indian journalists were like, they were really frustrated as well.
They were feeding questions basically, they were feeding the answers
time and
also.
Again, and he was like, no. So basically, the thing is, obviously, Israelis don't love us, but it is international relations. All states have interests with other states. Pakistan is an important country, important player in the politics of South Asia. So Israel has nothing to lose if it develops good relations with Pakistan. It would gain definitely. And Pakistan, we have the problem with our foreign policy always has been that we could not compartmentalize our foreign policy. We had been living with our foreign policy principles and we have created a cost kind of an apparatus that at the cost of A, we will develop or not develop relationship with B. So that has been the problem. We had great relations with...
Look at India. Why don't we learn from them? I mean, with Iran, they have got tremendous relationship. Look at Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've been given... Narendra Modi was given the High Civil Award. Look at UAE. Look at other... Bahrain for that matter. So Qatar, I mean, when you look at the bilateral trade between Qatar and India, I'm talking about the LNG part. Sir, it was estimated at $22 billion. 2 billion of the total trade was in favor of, I mean, that was the export of India to Qatar. 20 billion was the import of energy. Look at the equation. But
so the 21st century dynamics are these give and takes, these relationships. It's not emotionalism, it's not emotional attachment.
One has to be practical.
It should be rational, practical, logical. And at the end of the day, I think the most logical behavior is that if I'm on talking terms to you, then maybe I can convince you. Maybe I develop a stake, you develop a stake vis-a-vis me in South Asia, that might change. Now, if Pakistan and India in South Asia
Sir, if you think, now moving on to Pirzad Sahib, if we think that, you know, God forbid, in one fine morning, India attacks Pakistan or India tries to attack Azad Kashmir for that matter, and you had Iran as your backup, you had your planes stationed in Iran, correct, sir?
That was during the golden days of Shah.
Golden days of Shah, sir.
Not
the country was even,
not the ideological state of today.
Iran. No, sir, forget about the individual. It's the country. You had free support of oil from the Arab countries. You had China in your favor. You had so many other countries. Now look at, for example, if a war breaks out now, sir, scenarios would be different. Did you expect the Chinese army is going to send about 1 million soldiers to look after your affairs? No, sir. It won't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Or the Americans are going to, assign their this Indo-Pacific fleet for your guard? No, sir. It is not going to happen like that. My point is, sir, one has to be practical. The options which we have at the moment, sir. Let's point out 3 major options. Over to you, Tariq, sir.
Well, let's, if you go by the theory of practicality, well, why not agree and acquiesce to the incorporation of Indian-occupied Kashmir legally as it has been done by India? Let's be practical, realistic, pragmatic. Give it up. Why go into...
No, I'm not saying to give it up.
No, why get into the issue of confrontation with India? Hey, my friends, I'm sorry, we made a blunder in 1947. It's time that we have to be realistic, practical. We have to grow economically. And North Korea is a stupid country. And they are poor and they cannot grow. We don't have to follow them. We should follow some other countries. And we'd be actually growing like the United States or like China by cooperating with Israel or by cooperating with India or by cooperating with other, these militaristic powers. That kind of thinking, that shows that we have literally lost our soul. Nations don't live and die because of the
Sir,
practicalities.
we are not living in Tipu Sultan's era, sir.
I'm not
Let's be
talking about
practical.
Tipu Sultan. I'm talking about today.
Should we attack India, sir? Should we
Let me
nuke the entire
answer.
India? Is that the
Bluntly
option?
answer that question. Let me bluntly. You can do one thing if you have a little faith in your ideology, a little faith in your ideology, and a little faith in the overall defense posture of Pakistan. If you want to defend the remaining Pakistan from the clutches of India, start supporting the freedom movement in Kashmir with finances, with intelligence, with planning, with semi-military aid, with military aid, and keep your horses ready if you are attacked. Don't wait for the enemy to take charge of the situation. Determine it with your wisdom. And there are countries who have done that.
So
there
is
do you want me
about
to
1
start
million
giving you the examples?
armed military
Mr. Trump,
personnel stationed there.
may I say, has visited the same stupid, Kim Il-jung 3 times, and it was the wisdom of this 36-year-old, ruler of North Korea, the dirt poor country in the world. They can afford to live poor, but they have maintained their honor. They have become a major military power.
People can't
Hold
eat.
on.
People join
I would
forces.
I would love to
say,
be poor.
Hail Kim
if I
Jong-un
can-
because they are.
This is an American
they-
propaganda.
Sir, there's no food to eat.
This is
Sir,
an American.
sir,
Okay,
they
how
have
has
terrible conditions out
may I
there,
ask
sir.
you? Let me argue with you quite vociferously. Which is that country on earth who can stay hungry for 60 years and still survive? Obviously, there's a lot of exaggeration, a lot of diplomatic
support from the
propaganda.
Chinese
It
is coming in.
Let me come to Israel
But
for a
still, sir.
second. If you created this country. I didn't create this country. My father, his forefathers, they all, worked to create this country under the leadership of one Western educated guy named Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah. I think when he said Kashmir was a jugular, I think, was he out of his mind?
Why were you waiting for 72 years then?
No. I'm answering that. Who waited for that?
Pakistan.
Foreign Office of Pakistan, the political leaderships in this country, these tribals whom we hate so much in our common language, they were the one who gave you 22,000 square miles of the area that we have at the present time and the people of northern areas. So those people who have fought, who have shown some determination, who have not compromised on their fundamental principle.
Looking at the current geography,
but if you
looking at
surrender,
the current scenario
like Arab countries
and
to Israel, this is what happens. But you lose Jerusalem, you lose West Bank. It's not just Palestinians.
Sir,
who
Islam
own this
started
area.
from the Arab world. If they don't have any
There is no
concerns,
legal
who are
law.
we?
There is
As Musharraf Sahib used to say, "Hum
yeah.
Islam ke ठेकेदार हैं."
Yes, I think.
Are we, sir? Pakistanis are the ठेकेदार of the.
Let me say, if you believe, even for 1 second that you are a Muslim, or I believe, if I'm a Muslim, or if I believe I'm a communist, if I believe I'm a secular or I'm a believer in the democratic values that the American Constitution offers, all these nations stick to those fundamental
Countries
principles.
have learned and they have progressed.
Who has
War
learned?
is a
Has
problem.
Israel-
War is not a solution to any problem, sir.
I think wars
Are you
are
talking
the
about,
solution.
nuclear
and
exchange,
the last 130
killing about a billion
years,
people on both
may
sides?
may I disagree with you one more time? Wars do offer solutions, and then negotiations follow, and then peace
Why
is
not to
established.
avoid war and go for
No, you can't
negotiations?
avoid war. Look, this area, this is called Jammu and Kashmir. The whole area is 84,471 square miles. Of that, 22 is with us, and 62,000. That makes it 7,000 square miles larger than the East territory of East Pakistan. Nobody tells the people of this country, and maybe
You
the people
lost
don't-
half
Hold
your
on, hold on.
population,
And
one country. What did we learn after
and
1971,
10
sir?
million people are the prisoners of less than 1 million Indian soldiers. So if you have a wise guy like the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, we have to be a responsible country.
We have to be, sir.
Oh, yes, why not surrender?
Nobody's talking about surrender, sir.
It is.
But there is a way.
Why wouldn't I want to surrender? If I have to be practical,
We'll get back to that, sir.
Yeah.
I was just told to take a short break, sir. We'll take a break after the
do
break.
it.
we'll
I
return.
mean, I'm not here to defend.
And we'll talk about the war.
Yeah.
Sir. We'll just take a break here.
It's time for Isha prayers in Rawalpindi, Islamabad. People in other parts of the country may offer their prayers according to their local timings.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Hayya ala salah. Hayya ala salah. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله
sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He who does not respect elders, does not have mercy on children, does not commend what is good, and does not forbid what is evil, is not one of us.
Welcome back. Now, Ambassador, couple of options given by Pirza Sahab said, okay, fine, you know, ideology comes first, morality comes next to it most likely, and since this was a commitment about 70, 75 years ago, so now he expects that, you know, people from the tribal areas will do the same as they earlier did about 70 years ago, or maybe we'll have a similar support. But don't you think the ground realities have changed? I mean, let's be honest, because if you do not know your problem exactly, you can't have a solution for that. Simple.
Yeah.
Now, the foreign policy, we have just examined that also, sir. The kind of support, the kind of image Pakistan has. Oh, 1962, 61, when Ayub Khan went to America, it was a different ball game. But now, it's a different ball game. Reality, look at the way the Indians have grown, sir, on many, many fronts, counts. Whether you talk about cricket, I mean, that is also an example, by the way. And you talk about other, for that matter. We have seen a constant decline, unfortunately, sir. And there is rise. I have still seen 6 taking pictures of cars in Pakistan. I said we have never seen these many cars together parked in India because we just have ambassador. But now you talk about, let's talk about Ambani's. They can purchase, and look at the kind of investments Saudi Arabia is making. I mean, these guys mean business. And look at us. You're fighting FATF. You have issues, problems, Kashmir, Afghanistan, Iran, foreign policy. Are we in a state to take a step which just our friend Mr. Pirzada suggested, sir?
But at the same time, we should not be despondent and think that this is something which has been a fait accompli and accept what has happened. Right. I think to a great extent it will depend how the Kashmiris will sustain and enforce the resistance to the Indian occupation and the atrocities that they're committing from there. A very large extent, it will depend how much the Kashmiri struggle will continue. Because the things that you mentioned about, you know, almost like in the Nazis' time, making them into Nazi camps, the whole of Kashmir, and to the lynching of Muslims the world over, the human right violations that is taking place, and likelihood is going to become worse. And the differences within India itself, the liberals, the political parties, you know, their talk. You mentioned about the economy, etc. The demonetizing notes by Modi was one of the biggest setback. The economy is not doing as well as is expected. Sure, few people are investing in. But if in Kashmir, the tensions continue, it heightens further, then the investors will shy away from Kashmir. And you know,
Ambani has promised so many $billion dollars.
He can promise and do whatever. What I'm saying, I'm talking about the over this thing. The secular, the religious and sectarian actions being taken against the Kashmiris are beginning to have resonance abroad. Now, we were talking about the options. We mentioned the United Nations. We mentioned also...
We have talked about the foreign
diplomacy also.
Now.
And the third, I'm coming to the third option, is that of mediation. Now, you know, when the stage comes, when the Kashmiris have, you know, created a situation which was something like what has happened in the Soviet time when the Stinger missiles made them get away from there and they had to walk out. and what is happening right now to the Americans.
The Americans were supporting you like this.
Yeah, well, they're walking
were
out.
at your
Okay,
back.
but what I'm saying is that the Americans are also pulling out from there. So if you do have a situation like that happening in Kashmir, and then India will be obliged to think in terms of proposing some kind of a deal. Now, what would be the nature of the deal, given the ground realities, given the fact that the international
Ground reality,
community...
this is exactly, Basit,
Yeah,
I'm
but
talking
let
about,
me...
right, who is going to play the role of Charlie Wilson for that matter in this case, sir?
The point
That's
is,
the point.
yeah, but I mean, we have already seen there was an offer from the American president. Then if the ground...
Indians totally refused. He said,
Yeah, but look, I mean, the Indians have been offering in the past to have a settlement on Kashmir based on the line of control. So in other words, you have to and settle the issue once and for all. Pakistan has rejected it always from there. Now India has colonized the Indian-held Kashmir. And now they are talking about taking over the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir from there. Of course, they'd be foolish to even think about it because of the Pakistani army and the resolve not to allow them to do that. But I have a question and I have a suggestion, and I want to say, when you have a situation
for
like
example, India attacks Kashmir, or for that, because it's not only about Azad Kashmir, they also talk about Gilgit-Baltistan and all. Now, we have got an assembly in Azad Kashmir, which we call the Azad Kashmir, because they have their own president, they have their own flag, own prime minister, own cabinet, everything. But Gilgit-Baltistan is treated, I would really say thank you very much, Mr. Zardari. At least he had the wisdom and the understanding, on the best of who at least he held elections there, and it is considered as the fifth province of Pakistan. Now, sir, the point is that now, for example, they claim it as a union, annexation, whatever you may call it. LOC to them is now, they won't even say this is an LOC or a permanent border. They think the smaller part, as earlier mentioned by a friend, the 22,000 square kilometer area of Azad Jammu and Kashmir for that matter, they would say, well, this is ours and that is ours. So most likely they will not do that because there's a lot of Muslims living on this part, and that is going to be a problem for them to occupy, and otherwise our forces are vigilant enough to take care of them. But sir, if a war breaks out, what would be the understanding? Will it be considered as an LOC or an international border? What would be the status then? I mean, how would we negotiate?
That's something to be I will just comment in a minute. Now, my point is that the Kashmir, we were talking about the partition of Kashmir and two independent. Why can't we think in those terms that Pakistan, we have Pakistan, Azad Kashmir become the province of Pakistan, have a referendum on the basis of the plebiscite, and let it join Gilgit-Baltistan, also should be joining Pakistan, and let the Kashmiris fend for themselves from the point of view of political discussion with that, supporting them, like the way it was mentioned by my friend here, political, economic, military, all the kind of support, because after all, we have been supporting also Palestine also. So why can't we? If the Soviet Union can split into so many countries, if Germany can be split to so many countries, and there are so many other examples where the countries have been divided and states have been divided. So if we are
different
looking,
interests,
if we are looking
different
for a
timing,
deal,
different approach. That
Agreed.
was Europe. Things were different. Now because you know, sir, post Second World War, the five countries which emerged as winners,
right here,
America, Britain, France, Russia, and China, because it was a part of basically Philippines, right? And the Japanese were defeated. So these five countries became the and now Germany is also considered as a part, but since they were on the other side of the fence at that time, so P5+1.
Yeah.
But that was Germany,
yeah,
sir,
but
an
the
alliance.
world has also changed quite a bit over the years. Morality.
Not in our favor, sir.
Yes, it is
Not in the
changing
favor of
gradually.
Muslims either.
It is changing. It is very much changing. Look at the reaction that is coming all over. India is in the doghouse. They have to answer. Look at Modi sitting there with Trump, having to explain and so on.
No, sir, having a great chat.
Well, no, having a great chat. What I'm saying is that the
that's
fact
also
is,
reality. I looked at it
the
from
fact
another
is
angle then.
you cannot.
And he
Anyway,
said it on his face that it's a bilateral thing.
Yeah, bilateral thing, but if the fact they have violated the Simla agreement for all practical purposes is dead. It was dead when they
Now,
walked
does it
into
matter to the
Siachen.
international community? That is again a
Yeah,
question,
when they
sir.
walked into Siachen, also right now, and as to what is the line of control, because if that is dead, so where is it the ceasefire line now, or what is it called now? Where is the boundary between
They
India
will say
and
it's a
Pakistan?
permanent
Well,
border.
I mean, what I'm saying is that these are the issues that we have to look
quick
forward.
comment, sir, then I'll move on.
My
Sir,
last
sir,
quick comment on
sir.
on the Israelis. The point is that when our foreign minister met the Israeli counterpart in Istanbul, he was posed a question by him: why are you holier than the Pope himself? The fact is that we have built a hype in the country, and we do not have the political will or the capability of defying the righteous elements in the country to recognize Israel.
No, forget
so
about
we
that.
have
So
over the
if we are
years
so much
we have
inclined
to
towards the righteous, or the righteous have so much kind of an influence over the majority.
Exactly,
A few
but-
has, it's like Hutus and Tutsis, I would say, sir. I mean, minority ruling the majority. So psychologically, you're right. I mean, they actually do.
we have to change.
I mean,
we have to change this.
Sir,
The
don't you
political
think
will.
this is-
So it's the political leadership that needs to do that.
I can say 99.9% of these people who are mostly not even educated, the righteous, they do not even know the real ideology of Kashmir for that matter, or even Israel, the actual issues, because we have been seeing it. Sir, when we talk about Bangladesh, because this is my own personal experience, sir. We talk about Mujibur Rehman or his daughter for that matter. Mujibur Rehman comes to me as a traitor. This man went against us. We do not talk about the reasons and the other mysteries. Let's put it as mysteries because we were never told. You know it better. This man is a traitor. For them, he is a hero. So, when you read the Indian history, I mean, it's a different ballgame about Qaeda-Azam. We have a different ideology. So it's a different. It's just how you look at the thing.
Just one comment.
Sir, please,
Mujibur
then-
Rehman, after he came to power, supported Pakistan on Kashmir. He
still he's
floated the
considered
idea
as a
to have a
traitor, sir.
referendum.
But today, she's
It's a different
supporting
ballgame.
India.
But what about the people of Bangladesh?
Sir, mostly they have eliminated this extreme rightist ideology, sir, of Islami,
The people
Jamaat
who are
Islami and all.
supporting Kashmir in Bangladesh,
They can't
some
afford.
of them have been hanged.
They can't afford to make the same mistakes which Pakistan has made in the past. Bitani Saab.
I think I'm fine. I'm okay with the emotional outbursts. Yes, that we have an emotional attachment with Kashmir. Fine,
It
that's
has
there.
nothing to do with the emotionalism. It's a legal, constitutional issue. My friend, what are we talking about?
Then we are fighting
But
our case, sir.
we have fought war against terror for 14 years. Now we cannot say that. We should have not fought that war then. I mean, at this moment, we cannot make the standpoint that support an armed struggle. We had an
Narratives
FATF
have
meeting
changed, dimensions
few
have
days
changed,
back.
Perceptions have changed, sir.
Why are we into FATF meeting then? Why have we banned these organizations?
It has nothing to do with that.
It has
with the
everything
issue
to
of
do with
Kashmir.
these things.
It has-
We have created this case. It is
FATF
we who
has
have
nothing to do
created
with
this case.
Kashmir.
So,
Sir,
I mean,
if you
let's
will support a certain sect, for example, Jamaatul Dawa, which has been declared as a terrorist unit.
That has nothing to do with
Sir,
the
whether
issue
we
of
accept it
Kashmir.
or not, this is the international ideology, sir. You have to play according to their rules and.
And you have recognized it. You have been fighting a war against all these things. You have been a frontline ally against terrorism. That's a
being
separate
blue-eyed
debate.
boy, you have
But
turned
at
out
this
to be
moment
the
of time,
worst.
we should be prepared for war. There is no other choice. There is no other question if war is imposed on us.
If imposed.
Imposed. But the thing is, how are you saying that we will just start an armed struggle? I mean, with the situation is really different. The scenario
Ground
has
reality is
changed.
different. I mean,
That's
we
a
afford
great
war?
thing. I
and
mean,
you think if we go for a war, who's going to support us? Is Saudi Arabia or UAE is going to give you money to fight against India? This is a reality, sir. I need to know. Because if I'm playing with 11 players, I need to know who my bowlers are, who my batsmen are, what sort of a pitch it is. This is, anyway, sir, your take, sir.
You know, this is one major problem of the debate that is going on in the country. What happens if there is a war? Who would support us?
We'll be having a party time, sir, if there is a war.
May I ask you that question? First of all, have the determination to liberate Kashmir. Make sure that you say it as succinctly as the Corps commanders said in their 30-worded statement issued by Asif Ghafoor, General Asif Ghafoor. Make sure that you say, as a government, that you would be with the Kashmiris until the last minute, and you'll make all the preparations to get rid of the foreign yoke. Say that. First of all, you have to believe in that. If not, my friend is right. Surrender. Number one.
We have not
Number two.
used this word surrender. Nobody's surrendering.
Oh, of course.
Nobody's
There is
surrendering.
there is no other
TV
thing.
show is different and border is different.
Okay,
I mean,
let me come to
nobody's
this
surrendering. Nobody
because
has said
the
surrendering.
nature of the border. Let me discuss the legal nature of the
And we have been
border
told that
of the
both
LOC right
both the
now.
parties
Could
are
we
on the
do
same
that?
page.
Okay. Now that India has legally, according to their laws, incorporated Jammu and Kashmir, which was already under their occupation, and which is exactly the case that in what happened in 1857. India had the occupation. They simply changed the legality of it, and it became a part of the British India. All you have to do is, if you have, again, it's a matter of determination. You challenge that. But coming back to this issue of the border, look, since they have incorporated this territory, there is no ceasefire line basically at the present time, legally speaking. There is no LOC at the present time. This is on paper, nothing else. And the similar agreement is virtually gone because all issues had to be decided bilaterally according to the UN resolutions as enunciated by whom? By none other than my very respectable Secretary General of the United Nations. So let's talk. This issue is not issue of Kashmir for me is not an emotional issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a legal issue. It's an international issue, and then it is a military issue. If all other options fail, the UN Charter gives you the mandate to liberate it. And this is what I said. And let me repeat it. I hope somebody doesn't mind it. If you read the paragraph 17 of the letter that our Foreign Minister had written to Security Council, it has all the prayers included into it. It does not have one prayer included into it. And he could have done that by a stroke of pen, which was that if the United Nations does not enforce its resolutions, the people of Pakistan will take the matters in their own hand. We are not talking about war at the present time. We're talking about the use of a powerful language to convey the message of your conviction. You did not do that.
Your
Pardon me
accounts
for
are
saying
frozen, sir.
there's a lack of commitment.
I mean, you say a word about Kashmir on Twitter, your account is
You are
not working
talking
after
about
5 minutes then.
constantly, with due respect, about social media, comments about this
Sir,
and that. Tom
Indians
and
have
Harry.
occupied the Silicon Valley, trust me.
When Russia made its move and occupied Crimea, let me talk about an illegal issue right here. Kashmir is not.
Russia
If we
and
do-
Europe can
if,
do.
If no,
Americans
nobody had the determination to challenge them. Look, this is exactly what the position is. Pakistan, other than the statement of the Corps commanders, we don't have the determination at the present time to liberate Kashmir.
Well, sir, let's see what happens. But honestly speaking, when we talk about the UN, I mean, it's a body, yes, it is there, but it's not an effective body. I mean, they'll only do for those who are pumping in money simply. This is what matters at the end of the day. I mean, if Donald Trump can threaten the UN that, I'll not give you as much or 16% or whatever. Is it 16%, sir? Around. So, I mean, things won't be working for you. So they do understand. This is how it works, sir. This is how it works in every single country. Maybe the modules are a little
You
different.
are oversimplifying the issue.
Well, sir, I know these are very complicated issues, but at the same time, sir, I was writing something very interesting and I want to share that with you. There are two options. One is about the ICJ. Let's see what happens. But even if they give the verdict against India,
One quick
India is
comment
not
on
bound
ICJ.
to International Court of Justice I'm talking about. The second is about the Indian Supreme Court, but still they have linked it on till October. There were a lot of petitions and they'll see.
Again,
So,
let me
but
just
in
quickly
India,
make one
the
minor-
parliament is considered
Ambassador sir, do I have your
higher.
permission? If I can make a brief comment over here. I know this is your turn, I believe.
No, sir, the time is off. But you can go ahead, sir.
Very
Last 15
quickly.
seconds, please.
ICJ was never an ideal option, even for Kulbhushan. You didn't have to agree to the jurisdiction issue. The law says in the first paragraph,
But let's see,
unless
sir.
the two states agree,
But let's
there
see.
is no
But
jurisdiction.
anyway.
Even now, let's assume they render verdict in your favor. Assume the Indian Supreme Court renders a verdict in your favor.
In your favor
It's-
or in
hold
their
on,
own
hold on.
favor?
On-
It's not
on-
about
what
Pakistan.
we support basically at the present time. The ground reality will change and Pakistan will change its policy in a substantive manner.
Yes, I think a lot
Otherwise,
needs to be done.
it's a lost cause.
Anyway, thank you very much, Faisal. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, Britani Saab. Best
Just
Saab.
last word.
Sir.
What will depend in the next few days? What will be the resistance of the Kashmiris themselves?
Exactly.
Let's see, sir. But currently, things are not that
How
great. But,
sustained and how long
but,
it will go.
but, sir, thank you very much once again. And that's all we have.
Correct
Faisal.
point.
I'll see you again. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.